Welcome students. This is your faculty, Dr. Shweta Srivastav, Associate Professor, School of Management, BBD University. Hope all of you are fine. So students, in the previous lectures, I have been continuously telling you that the management has to reduce cost because if we go by the basic definition, profit is equal to revenue minus cost. Since revenue has external orientation, what is left in the hands of the manufacturer? Just to reduce cost. But students, you have to remember one thing, that whenever I am telling you to reduce cost, it doesn't mean compromising with the quality. There is so much of competition in the market that you cannot at any point of time compromise with the quality specifications, because the customer will move to your substitute or to your competitor. So here I am going to discuss with you the buzzword, that is total quality management. This total quality management says that quality is not the baby of only top management. Rather, it is a philosophy, it is a culture that should be percolated down the organization. Everybody should feel that yes, quality is my responsibility. It is not only the responsibility of top management. So, total quality management is a philosophy, is a concept that embraces the whole organization. The entire organization is treated as one unit when it comes to quality implementation. The organization should not be considered as different functional units like production, human resource, materials and all. Rather, all of them, all the departments should look at the organization and strive for total quality management. So students, let us understand first of all what quality is, what are the specifications or dimensions of quality. Then we'll understand the underlying principles of total quality management. Right, students? So let us move ahead. Dimensions of quality formulated by David A. Garvin. See, the entire quality principles come out from Japan. They are suffered from Hiroshima Nagasaki bomb explosion. So to build up their economy faster, they only focused on one thing, that is quality. When we are maintaining quality, in fact, we are actually maintaining all the phases of our production process and the product as well. So these are the dimensions given by Sir David A. Garvin. So the first is performance. Performance means it involves the various operating characteristics of the product. See, performance is related to the basic function for which a product or service is being created. If I take example of electric bulb, so the basic function is of illumination, right? Similarly, if I take example of car, the basic function is of mileage and comfort, right? So the or taking services also, if you are going to a restaurant, the basic function is providing you a good meal or tasty and healthy meal. If the restaurant is very good in ambience but it is not providing you good food services, it will not be effective, because it is not it was not fulfilling the purpose for which it is there in the business world, right? So performance relates to the basic function for which a service or a good is created. Now coming to features. These are the characteristics that are supplemental to the basic operating characteristics, right? So what additional features or what additional value you are giving to the customer? So if I take example of McDonald's, right? So their basic purpose is to provide you good quality burger or good quality menu that they are having. But Apart from giving you that quality meal, they are also giving you facilities like a balloon for children. They have high chairs, they have a specific playing area for kids. So these are the additional features provided by the McDonald's. Similarly, if I go buy a mobile or a product, so in case of the basic function of mobile is communication, right? So whatever additional features you are getting, like camera, like radio, like some games and all, inbuilt games are there. So these are the additional characteristics that generally increase the value of that particular goods or service. Next comes the reliability. The reliability of a product is the degree of dependability and trustworthiness of the benefit of the product for a long period of time. It means when you are maintaining the quality for a number of times, or when quality is your continuous phenomena, that will bring reliability. It means whenever you are buying that product, every time you are getting the same quality. That is trustworthiness or reliability of a product. If you are going to a restaurant, so when you went for the first time, you will get tasty food. When you go for the second time, you will again get a tasty food. But when you go for the third time, you are not being served by a good quality meal. So what will happen? It will deteriorate the image of that restaurant. It means that that restaurant is not trustworthy. So reliability, it means continuous implementation of the quality norms. That is reliance. Next comes the conformance. Conformance. It is the degree to which the product conforms to established specifications. See, in case of performance, it is the basic function. But sometimes what you do, you create your own pre-specifications. These are known as your unique selling propositions. So to stand out from the clutter of competition, what the manufacturers are doing, they are pitching in certain unique feature of your product or service. I am giving you one example. There are so many sweet shops, but if you take example of Radhe Lal, they will give you शुद्ध देशी घी से बनी मिठाइयाँ, right? So when you are going to buy the sweets from Radhe Lal, what you should have? You should have this assumption that yes, that will be made from pure ghee, because they have established those standards. So the same goes with the products also. So conformance means whatever is the image you are creating in front of the consumer, that should be met. It means you are conforming with your standards, with your specifications. If you are not conforming, it means the consumer will feel that you are not making up to your promise, the promise which you have given to the consumers, right? So conformance is yet another quality dimension. Next comes the durability. Durability means the longevity of the that product or service. It measures the length of time that a product performs before a replacement becomes necessary. So your product should be durable enough so as to give you proper value for money. It should not break every second time, because it will take cost of replacement, it will take of cost of amendment and all. So you need to rectify every time, and that includes cost. So these are the dimensions given by Sir David A. Garvin. Let us understand few more. Now comes the serviceability. Serviceability refers to the promptness, courtesy, proficiency and ease in repair when the product breaks down and is sent for repairs. Students, whenever you go to buy a mobile, what you look for? You look for basic features, you look for additional features. That's true. But at the same time, what you look for? You look for the service stations, whether the company has service centers or not. See, the companies like Maruti have sometimes back pitched this factor as their unique selling proposition. They created an ad where it was mentioned that the service stations of Maruti are available at very high heights, like Himalayas and all. So you can understand that serviceability is actually giving a cutting edge to the manufacturers nowadays. Right? Next comes the aesthetics. Aesthetic aspect is the beautification. It is very well said that जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So aesthetic aspect of a product is comparatively subjective in nature and refers to its impact on the human senses, how such as how it looks, feels, sounds, tastes, and so on, depending upon the type of product. See, you can't imagine the aroma you feel around McDonald's or Pizza Hut. These are nothing but aesthetics. Even these aromas are being patented. The jingles used by Airtel, the jingles used by Vodafone, these are also a part of aesthetics. Even they are patented. So they create a sense of belongingness towards the brand. So whenever you feel that aroma, you will feel yes, Pizza Hut is somewhere around. Whenever you hear that jingle of Airtel, you will feel yes, the Airtel is ad is coming, or you will feel that yes, that will reinforce or reiterate the confidence which you have on that particular brand. So that is aesthetics. Next comes the perceived quality. See students, perceived quality is very important because it is not the quality which should be understood by the manufacturer. It should be the quality which is perceived by the consumer. How much quality product a manufacturer is selling, but if it is not perceived or felt by the manufacturer, by the consumer, it is of no use. So that quality should be that quality perception should be given by the consumer. It should be felt by the consumer. So if I am telling you that my product has good taste, so I don't have the right to say that my product is good in taste. Rather, it is the job of the consumer to say yes, the product is good in taste. So perceived quality is very subjective and it is very difficult to implement because it depends on the customer. For you, the noodles, the other Chinese products or these fast food may prove to be good in quality. But as if I consider myself, I don't consider them good in quality. Right? So perceived quality is highly subjective and it's actually very difficult to maintain. But anyhow, you have to look at the customer. Customer is king. So perceived quality is the most important thing which when it comes to quality. Right, students? So these are the dimensions given by Sir David A. Garvin. Now let us move ahead with Juran's trilogy. See this, Sir Juran again came from Japan. So they say that if you want to implement quality into systems, you have to follow three principles, right? So the first thing is you have to plan quality. It is a concurrent exercise which involves all the affected parties related to the product and services so that they can provide inputs and give early warnings during the planning processes. The steps of the quality planning exercises are define the project, identification of the customers and discovery of the customer's need, establish the quality objectives and develop the plans for meeting these objectives. See students, I told you that quality is one thing which is not done, which cannot be implemented by the top management. See, that is why it is a concurrent exercise. Uh, it should be understood, it should be implemented by all the functional departments at the same time. It should be implemented across the organizations. That is why the name is concurrent exercises. We have to take into account all the parties who are affected. So in quality planning, first of all, you have to find out what will be your quality specifications. What do you want to achieve? Next, you have to identify the customer because as I told you, it should be not quality given by the manufacturer. It should be quality given by the understood by the customer. So we have to identify the customers. Who are our customers? Then we have to identify their needs, because you have to develop, this is the time of customization. You have to develop according to the customer needs. When you are developing according to the customer needs, you have to set the quality objectives, because this is what you are supposed to achieve. Now, once you have created your quality objectives, you need to develop plans to achieve those objectives. So once you have achieved, you have translated your quality objectives, next job is to implement. So whenever you are implementing your quality specifications, it is a continuous process. You have to check continuously whether you are on the right track, whether you are derailing. If you are derailing, you need to be corrected. So this is what is meant by quality control. It involves the developing and maintenance of operational methods in order to assure that the processes work as they are designed to work, and that the target levels of performance are being achieved, right? So this is extra, so sorry for that. So this you have to see that whatever quality specifications, whatever quality objectives you have created, that are actually being met, they are actually being achieved or not. So you have to know what is the expected performance from your employees. You have to evaluate the actual operating performance. You have to conduct a comparative analysis between the budgeted and the actual, and you have to find out the difference. But your job doesn't end here. You have to find out what is the reason for that difference, what corrective action is needed, right? So once you have found out what corrective action is needed, you have to now improve your quality. You have to find out sometimes what should be the breakthrough, from where you can improve, what are the loopholes which needs to be corrected. So in quality improvement, you sometimes innovate, you sometimes create a new idea, sometimes you improvise the existing idea. So that is the step of quality improvement. So whatever be the organization, you have to go with these three steps. But above all, you have to understand that this is a continuous phenomena. This is not a one-time exercise. It should go on till the time you are into the operation, right? So these are the Deming's 14 principles. So these are the guiding principles while implementing quality in your organization. So create a constant purpose towards improvement. It means plan for quality in long term. See, we should not be reactive in nature. We should be proactive. The quality should be incorporated in the systems. The crisis management is not the quality phenomena, right? We have to prepare ourselves for the future challenges and always have the goals of getting better, right? This is a continuous process. You should not restrict to one time. I gave you example of Nokia, that once a time they were the market leaders in India. But since they only felt that yes, I have achieved the quality specification and that will be till eternity. So now they are no more in the business world. The company is being sold to Microsoft. They have relaunched, but they are still not able to regain that confidence, that trustworthiness in the eyes of the customer. So it is a continuous effort towards improvement. Adopt the new philosophy. It means you have to feel that quality is a philosophy, it is a culture. You have to feel that this is my baby. Every person in the organization should understand the importance of quality. Put your customers' need first and design according to their specifications. These are the times of mass customization, not mass standardization. We should be flexible enough to incorporate the environmental changes, right? So create a quality vision. Quality should not be your short term process. Stop depending on inspections. Rather than conducting inspections, we have to build quality into the systems. We should not find out wrong. We should eliminate the wrongs altogether. We should not use inspections as your quality strategy. Inspection is done after you have finished with the production process. The quality should be incorporated in the systems from the induction of raw materials, even from the creation of product specifications. So we should use statistical control methods, not physical inspections alone, to prove that the process is working. So we have various control charts to see whether our quality processes are at its place or not. Use a single supplier for any one item. See, quality depends on consistency. So if you have more than one buyer for a single item, what will happen? Nobody can be held accountable for supplying you wrong product, because garbage in is garbage out. So you have to maintain quality at the input level also. So, moreover, the supplier should be treated as your quality partners. They are not the outsiders to the organization, right? So, we have to see that the quality statistics should be ensured by the suppliers of even. This is not the job of you to maintain quality. If you are not having the quality input, quality output is impossible to attain. So students, you have to rely on single supplier so that you can maintain consistency and you can hold one person accountable if any mistake happens. Improve constantly and forever. That is what I am telling you. That is, you have to continuously adopt this cycle: plan, do, check, act. Put emphasis on training and education so that everyone can do their job better. Use the Kaizen model. Kaizen says it is improvement exercise. It is moving ahead for improvement, right? So change for good is Kaizen. So Kaizen should be used as a model to reduce waste and to improve productivity, effectiveness and safety. You can never compromise with this safety. Use training on the job. Use training as your tool to control your cost. Train for consistency to help reduce variation. Build a foundation of common knowledge. See, you should not create competition among the labor, because because what will happen, they will not share their ideas. So build a foundation of common language. They should feel that they all are working for one organization. They should understand the philosophy that I'll grow when my organization grows. So instead of looking for their individual gains, they should look at the larger picture, how my organization can gain, right? So try to build a team within the organization. Implement leadership. It means you should be a transformational leadership rather than a transactional leader. You should train your employee. You should not be insecure about your leadership position. You should create more leaders. You should develop your employee subordinates so that they can feel that yes, I have been given due importance. Do not always punish them. Do not always reward them. Show them that yes, you have a growth chart in the organization. There is a proper career path for you. This is implementing leadership. Eliminate fear. Encourage ideas from your subordinates. Eliminate fear of losing job. Eliminate fear from being reprimanded. So this is how you can implement quality. Break down barriers between departments. See, your employees are your first customers. So recognize that each department or function serves other departments and that use their output. We have to see that the organization works as a system. They are not working as standalone functional departments. So if you do not have a good HR department, or the production department will not have skilled labor. At the same time, the marketing department will not have good salespersons. So every organization is working with each other and for each other. So we should create a shared vision. We should create a cross-functional team so that the interdepartmental rivalry can be eliminated. Focus on collaboration and consensus instead of compromise. They should understand that yes, they are working for the organization, not their own functional department. Get rid of unclear slogans. Create specific objectives which are achievable. Eliminate management by objectives. It means you should not be every time bound by the targets. Focus should not be on numbers. We should rather focus on improvement, the relative improvement, right? Remove barriers to pride of workmanship, right? We have to tell them that you are not working for only reward, you are working for the well-being of the organization, right? You are not working as a own individual. In fact, your identity is uh, is actually the identity of the organization. You are not working in your standalone capacity. Implement education and self-improvement. Give proper opportunity for training and self-development. Make transformation everyone's job. That is what I have been continuously telling you, that quality is not the baby of top management. It is everybody's baby. It is the job of everybody. In fact, the quality is not implemented by the top management. It is implemented by the lower management. Because they translate that quality into the production process. So these are the guiding principles for implementing quality in the organization. Now understand this continuous improvement, because I told you that quality is not the one-time phenomena. It is a continuous process. So every time we have to follow this Deming cycle or Shewhart cycle. Plan, identify an opportunity and plan for change. Implement the change on a small scale, because improvements should be taken at small paces so that it can be easily accommodated in your systems. Check. Use data to analyze the results of the change and determine whether it made a difference or not. When I am saying difference, it should be on a positive note. Act. If the change was successful, implement it in the whole system or the wider level and continuously assess your results. If again you find any discrepancy, if again you are finding that your systems are malfunctioning, again go to the same part, that is plan. Continuously look at your quality systems. Now coming to the cost of quality. Cost of quality is a methodology that allows an organization to determine the extent to which its resources are used for activities that prevent poor quality, that appraise the quality of the organization's product or services, and that result from internal and external failures. See, cost of quality, you should not feel that it is the cost of quality implementation. Rather, it is the saving which we get because of implementing quality in the systems. So that cost can come from two ways. One is internal failure, another is external failure. Internal failure costs are incurred to remedy defects discovered before the product or service is delivered to the customer. It means the the quality malfunctioning or the quality failure is diagnosed within the organization before delivering to the customer. So these costs occur when the results of work fail to reach design quality standards and are detected before they are transferred to the customer. So they are little bit less dangerous for the organization because you are actually not delivering it to the customer. So you are rectifying within the organization and you are moving ahead. But when it comes to external failure, these are very dangerous for the goodwill of an organization. So if I take this, these failures are identified by the customer, they are discovered by the customer. So these costs occur when products or services that fail to reach design quality standards are not detected until after transfer to the customer, right? So I'm giving you one example. If you are going to a restaurant, no chef will check its the taste of the particular dish before serving it to the customer. So the quality standards can only be identified when it is tasted by the customer. So this is the external failure. See, external failure is very dangerous for the organization, because if an organization fails in meeting the quality standards, what will happen? They will lose the goodwill in the eyes of the customer. So I am giving you one example of Maggi. they have increased the percentage of monosodium glutamate, that is Ajinomoto, in the manufacturing of Maggi. What happened? The once the cash cow for Nestle lost its entire market share, and it has failed to regain its position in the Indian market. Yippee has very well replaced Maggi. So these are the costs of external failure. Now, prevention cost. Prevention costs are incurred to prevent or avoid quality problems. These costs are associated with the design, implementation, and maintenance of the quality management systems like inspection and training. Appraisal costs are associated with measuring and monitoring activities related to quality. These costs are associated with the suppliers and customers' evaluation of purchased materials, processes, products, and services to ensure that they conform to specifications. See, in case of prevention, you are actually preventing the quality, you are actually preventing that quality malfunctioning does not take place. But in case of appraisal cost, what you are doing, you are actually appraising after that quality is being implemented in the product or systems. So once the implementation part is done, you are checking whether it is conforming to the quality standards or not. But in case of prevention cost, you are taking a proactive action that poor quality products or poor quality specifications should not be produced or should not be implemented, right? So these are the various cost of quality. Students, these are actually not the cost of quality. These are the savings which you can get from get from internal failure or external failure, right? So let us move ahead. Now I am citing few organizations who treat quality as their corporate strategy, because I told you that quality is not a one-time phenomena. Moreover, quality should be taken as a philosophy. So I have given few examples like Tata. Here I want to share with you one joke which I used to hear from my father. I'll be explaining you it in Hindi so that you can understand the importance. My father used to say, ask me one question कि टाटा का ट्रक जो है उसमें पेट्रोल खत्म हो गया लेकिन फिर भी वो 1 किलोमीटर तक चल गया, बताइए क्यों? सो आई वॉज flabbergasted. सो माई फादर यूज टू आंसर मी, क्योंकि टाटा का नाम चलता है. See, this is the type of image we as a consumer have for Tata products. The same goes with Infosys. The same goes with Pidilite. In fact, Pidilite has a monopoly over in adhesive industry. Same goes with Ramco Industry. They are into the manufacture of asbestos sheets. Bajaj, Hamara Bajaj. So these are the companies, Indian companies, which have actually implemented quality into the systems. They have not taken quality as the one-time phenomena. So students, this is all from my side in this lecture. Hope you have understood how quality is important for any organization. If you are not maintaining quality specifications, you will be soon thrown out from the business world. So thank you students. Have a nice time.